Well, God wants us all to be courageous because He knows we'll face times in life and situations and circumstances that it takes more than just a desire. It takes courage. Many people operate on the basis of fear, on the basis of what other people think. We as believers should operate on the basis of courage. Courage to say no when we ought to say no. Courage to say yes when we should say yes. So what kind of courage do you have? Is yours sort of floating between depending on the situation? Or do you know the difference between right and wrong for your life? And you've made up your mind.
Do we sit down and let change just happen to us? Or are we just watching change happening around us? Or are we aware that change is happening within us? Or are we going to be those proactive people who make sure that we affect what happens to us? Change also produces 4 types of people. They are in this room. First of all, there are people who watch things happen. Not all change is improvement. You used to weigh 128, and now you changed. And for some of you, that's not an improvement. You lost your wardrobe. You lost your ability to climb up steps fast. You even lost the quality of health that you had. Change doesn't mean improvement all the time. But the problem is, without change, there can be no improvement. So you have to decide what to do with change. Change will happen, and if you are not careful, it could be destructive. So you have to determine, what kind of change do I want in my life? And I want you as a young person, as a mother and a father, as a business person, to think about your company even, or your family, or your educational pursuit. What kind of classes do you want to take in college this year? What kind of grades do you want? What kind of relationships you want to have in your life? Who do you want to drop and who do you want to pick up in your relationships? What kind of people do you want to associate with? Where do you want to travel that you've never been? What are the books you need to read you never read before? The changes come with choices. So what kind of person are you?
Drive. That's this puppy right here. This is what you want. This is your prefrontal cortex. Drive is the mode where you're in charge of your thoughts, okay? It's where you are fully awake, you are present, and you are driving your thoughts and actions. When you're doing that, your prefrontal cortex is active. The prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain that you need in order to learn new behavior, in order to do something difficult, in order to do something uncertain, in order to do strategic thinking. So I'm going to give you an example. So I'm a righty. If I were to try to write with my left hand, Lewis is going to torture me and tie my hand behind my back and make me do this, I could do it. It would look like I was writing with my foot. And if Lewis came up to me and said, "Hey, Mel, you want some bulletproof coffee?" I'd be like, "Lewis, I'm trying to concentrate. I can't do this." My prefrontal cortex would be el fuego, because it is firing on all cylinders to communicate to my hand new behavior. So the thing that's cool about that is that you can use a simple trick. The moment you feel yourself hesitate, the moment you've got one of those moments where you know that you need to, this is that moment that Lewis talks to you about where you got to step outside of your comfort zone and you've got to lean into your passion and you've got to really take some risks and you got to feel the fear and you got to do it anyway. That's the moment where you just woke up and now you got a decision to make. Are you going to drift back into the habits, or are you going to awaken your prefrontal cortex and drive forward and focus and do something new?
I am a strong believer that we quit. Because why? How does a 297-pound cockroach guy who quit on everything is now considered one of the baddest men on the planet? How is that possible? It means I had to change one thing, my mindset. So there's no way in hell that was it, but that guy was in me. It wasn't like God came down here and said, "Hey, guess what, man? You're a fat ass, but I'm gonna now make you a badass. I'm gonna miracle this to be a badass." No, it was in me. I had to believe and make that belief work. And through hard work, I did that.
And if you understand the mind, it does what you tell it. That's its job. And if you tell it better stuff, you have an amazing life. And if you tell it mediocre stuff, you have a mediocre life.